Shabbat Shalom. This week's Torah portion is Yithro, or Jethro, and it begins with the story of Jethro coming out to visit or to join the people of Israel and his son-in-law Moses in the wilderness. And the portion begins, this is chapter 18, verse 1, when Jethro, the priest of Midian, Moses' father-in-law, heard of all that God had done for Moses and for Israel his people, and that the Lord had brought Israel out of Egypt, then Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, etc., comes out to join the children of Israel. Clearly then, Jethro is responding to the events that he has heard about, to the parting of the Red Sea, to the 10 plagues. And we know, in fact, from the Song of Moses that the nations all around have trembled at word of this incredible miracle of the parting of the Red Sea, and of course of the subsequent drowning of the entire Egyptian army, I assume. As the story continues, he greets Moses as he comes. It says, and he said, Moses told his father-in-law, this is verse 8, and Moses told his father-in-law all that the Lord had done to Pharaoh and to Egypt for the sake of Israel, and all the travail that had come upon them by the way, and how the Lord delivered them. And Jethro rejoiced for all the goodness which the Lord had done to Israel, whom he had delivered out of the hand of Egypt. And Jethro said, Blessed be the Lord, who has delivered you out of the hand of Egypt, and out of the hand of Pharaoh, who has delivered the people from under the hand of Egypt. Now I know that the Lord is greater than all gods, for in the thing wherein they dealt proudly, he was above them. This is a very, very significant statement. First of all, the act of Jethro himself. And I think Jethro is actually a marvelous model for the nations. Because this is a man who does not become one of the children of Israel. He joins them, lives alongside them. We see later on in the scriptures references to the children of Jethro. But it's clear in this case that he's not coming in order to become a child of Israel, one of the children of Israel, one of the nation of Israel. He is coming as a priest of Midian who has examined the gods of the area, and as a result of his independent observation, he has come to recognize that indeed the God of Israel is greater than all of the other gods. And he recognizes, because of an honest observation of the situation. And this is, if you will, a model for the role of the Jewish people in the world. We believe that God gave us the Torah. He brought miracles upon us, and he gave us the Torah where these miracles and the relationship and the attributes of God are recorded for the entire world to see. And indeed, the people of Israel are commanded to be a light unto the nations. And what we see here is a typical example of that, where God's relationship with the Jewish people, with his redemption of the Jewish people, has caused Jethro, a very high-ranking individual in the nations, a priest of Midian, to recognize the wonder of God, and to come and to bring a sacrifice to God and to praise God among the nation of Israel. The last sentence that I read, though, is particularly interesting. It says, this again is part of Jethro's statement, it says, For in the thing wherein they dealt proudly, he was above them. Now, the words in Hebrew are as follows. Ata yadati ki gadol Hashem mikol ha'elohim ki badavar asher zadu alehem. The word for what they have done to them is actually zadu. And Rashi, the classical medieval Jewish commentator, has a couple of explanations here. One is actually quite cute. He takes the word zadu, and it comes from the same root as the word for stew, the thing you eat. And he basically is saying they cooked their own stew. In other words, the Egyptians made a mess of things, and they got what they deserved. But there's another explanation that I think is far more significant. And he talks about the fact, along these same lines, they cook their own stew. But if you take it literally, what the verse is saying, on for the thing where they dealt proudly, he was above them. And I'm not sure if the word dealing proudly is the best translation, but certainly perhaps in what they dealt arrogantly, or the actions that the Egyptians took that they were so confident would bring them victory. And it's referring here to the scheme of Pharaoh to first of all, enslave the Jewish people, but initially also to destroy them. The initial decree to throw the babies, the male babies, into the river and drown them in the river. And this was Pharaoh's plan in order to solve his so-called Jewish problem. He was going to get rid of the Jewish people by destroying the male babies. What happened instead? It is by water that indeed the Egyptians are drowned. God turns this whole plan on its heels, and at the end of the day, God ensures that the Egyptians drown in water, in the sea. But this is not just about an ironical game that's going on here, but it's God making a very strong statement. You thought, you Egyptians, that you were better than me, that you were superior to me, that you could control me, my people, that you were the bosses of nature, that you could throw Jewish babies into the river and in that way destroy them. What God demonstrates throughout the plagues is that God is above nature. Throughout the plagues, God does things that doesn't usually happen in nature, to turn water into blood, to create darkness for 6 days. Every one of the plagues is actually turning nature on its heels. And that culminates, of course, in the parting of the Red Sea, because water in the sea does not stand still. Water does not form solid walls to the right and to the left so that people can walk in the dry land in between. And so what is happening here is not just the Egyptians thought that they would be able to be superior and drown the Jews in water, and instead they themselves were drowned in water. But the Egyptians thought that they were the ones who would be able to control nature, when in fact they were forced to realize that it is God who controls nature, and God who commanded the waters to stand still so that he would be able to rescue the Jewish people. A powerful message about the power of God, and a very powerful message about the role of Jethro, the role of a priest of the nations, and his ability and his greatness in recognizing God and praising the God of Israel. Shabbat Shalom from Samaria.